Hi, this is Monty Perrin with howtohunt.com. I want to bring you a video to show you the system that I use to get into the woods with my tree stand and get into a tree. And what I really like about what I'm getting ready to show you here is the flexibility. I'm a bow hunter, and a lot of times, many times, bow hunting comes down to a matter of inches. If I could be 2 inches to the right, I might have a better shot. Or if I could be above that limb, I might have a better shot. Well, for years, I hunted with climbers, and two things were a problem for me. One is they weren't fun to get into the woods, and two is I had to go up a tree that didn't have any limbs on it, or I had to cut them off on the way. Well, what I've got on my back right now is a system I've been using for this fall will be 25 seasons, actually 26, because I started in 91. So I've used this for 25 seasons, and it's been effective. Now, I'm 59 years old, and I'll be the first to tell you it takes a little work to do what I do. But what this does for me is when I get into I can get into a situation in the woods where I can always find a tree that'll work for the circumstance, if there's any trees around at all. Let me show you what I'm talking about. First of all, you may notice that I've got a waist belt on here. The one thing, I'm using a lone wolf stand. I bought my first lone wolf stand in 1991. Then I upgraded to this Alpha Hang-On, I think it's called, and I like the other one. I like this one even better. But one thing I really liked about it was the fact that it was open, so that I could utilize some of that openness to strap things to it and make it work. What I've essentially done is I've made this tree stand into a pack frame, because there's two things that happen with a tree stand. One, you got to get it into the woods, and you got to get a gear that you're going to need when you get there in the woods. Two is you need to be sitting comfortably and quietly so that you can be effective when the animal shows up. Every pack I've ever owned, every decent pack, has got a waist belt on it and some good straps. That's what I've done with this tree stand. I've put good, these are just gunslings, but what I really like about them is they're well used for one thing, you can see that, but they've got good padding on them, and the fact that the leather keeps them from sliding off. They stay in place. The other thing I did was I put a waist belt on it. I just went to REI and bought this waist belt and put it on the stand, and I'll show you how I did that in just a minute. But now what I want to do is show you all the gear that I have in here before I take you to the woods and show you how I use it. Now, this is a Crooked Horn Outfitters pack. I had to look to be sure that's what it was, and it's close to 20 years old itself. Now, I paid $90 for this thing. I think it's probably twice that now. And when this one completely quits, I'll buy another one without hesitation. Is Crooked Horn Outfitters paying me anything for this? No. I'm gonna buy it because it's effective and it works. Here's what I like about it. Well, first of all, I can get a lot of gear in here. Let's start here. That's an umbrella. That's a spare hat in case I'm bow hunting during gun season and have to have an orange hat. There's a pair of binoculars. And just while I'm on the binoculars, I don't use the binoculars when that deer gets in bow range. I use it out there when they're 150 yards approaching so I can see what's coming my way. There's water, because I get thirsty, particularly in our season when it's warm. Now, let's go with this pack. That's a tree step. There's a couple other tree steps. There's one 50-foot rope. Here's another 50-foot rope. There's my receiver that I built to put my umbrella on. I have a YouTube about how I did that. There's an easy hanger. That empties that pocket out, okay? I didn't put it in here yet, but I usually have a lighter right here. If you've ever been lost in the woods, a lighter can be really effective. I know for a fact, because I've had to build fires in the night to keep from being cold. There's a set of pruners, small pruners, in case I was to need them, that fit right in that little fancy little pocket right there. Over here, I got a knife that I hope I'm going to need because I took some game. There's my hunting license. There's a GPS. Over on this side, I got some more pruners, a saw, and a second easy hanger. Now I'm going to get to the stuff that I used to climb with. For 5 years that zipper hadn't worked right, but the pack still works and gets what I need to done, and I just keep zipping it the way it'll work and keep using it. Now, I climb with tree hooks, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. Gives me lots and lots of flexibility and maneuverability. that's a climbing belt. It's got 2 lanyards on it. There's a specific reason for that. There's my safety rope, my 5-point safety harness, or 4-point, whatever, 5 points I guess it is. Now let me tell you something. I've climbed over 1,000 trees in the time I've been deer hunting with this system. I only fell once. Now that's pretty good, isn't it? But it could have been awful, but it wasn't, because I had this on. Instead of being tragic, it was like a ride at Disneyland. Please wear your safety restraints. That's it. Now, the other thing I did here is I fabricated these straps onto this stand, okay? And so what I do with that is when I fill this up, that's the awesome thing about this tree stand, is I can take that little lanyard right there, slide it through here, then I take this little buckle from the other side and pop it through another hole and come up and snap them. I do that on both sides. As you can see, my waist belt is already secured to the stand. Then I can put this on and it hangs perfectly. Now, that's what I use, and I got a lot of stuff in this pack, and I've used every bit of it at some point in time in my hunts. Now let's put it all back together and go into the woods, and let me show you how I get up a tree. Okay, now I'm in the woods, got all my gear. I'm not wore out because I got a good system for carrying things. Got my waist belt on. I got a lot of weight in this pack, but the way I got it all distributed, and one of the beautiful things, like I mentioned before about this Lone Wolf tree stand, is that it becomes a pack frame. With this waist belt, it takes a lot of the pressure off my shoulders. I didn't mind getting here. So here I am at the tree. Now I've picked a tree that's really an extreme case, because most people wouldn't pick a tree like this to climb. Now, that's a gnarly tree, I know. But what I'm going to do is show you the advantage of the system that I use, because 2 things are going to happen here. I'm going to get up that tree above those limbs on this biggest limb on the side, or biggest part of that tree right there, and where those 3 come together. 2 things are going to happen. One is I'm going to get above the limb, and then I'm going to have a tree stand on a limb that normally people wouldn't pick, because it's maybe a little bit on the small side. I know it'll support me, and it'll put me in a good situation, because now I got cover. And if there's a deer trail right here and that's the only tree I got, if I didn't have this kind of system, I'd have to go somewhere else, and I don't want to do that. Okay, so let's set up, get up the tree. When I'm in the woods, I can do this so quiet. I can just be real deliberate, take my time, and I can do this so quiet. I've had deer just walk right up on me while I was doing it. Didn't even know I was in the world till they got within bow range. I've actually done this, climb a tree like this right here, and get up in a tree overlooking a thicket and see deer bedded down out in front of me 50 or 60 yards. So in that respect, it's a pretty effective way of doing things. All right, now I'm gonna grab my climbing belt. Once again, I wouldn't be making this noise if I was really deer hunting. I'd be taking my time, sliding things along, making sure I didn't make a lot of sound. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and tie this up to my safety harness. Put my tree stand on my back. Now, one thing you're going to notice here is I have 2 separate lanyards. The reason for that is when I get to that limb there, I'm going to throw one of these over top, but I'm going to stay safetied below it because I'll have 2 lanyards. You'll see. So here goes. Now, I'll take this and throw it up on this limb. The point being is I'm always safetied off. Always got some kind of fall restraint on. Now, let's go ahead and get above this limb. I might need to give myself a little more playroom here so I can get leaned back a little more. Ooh, that one's gonna come down, y'all. I'll pay attention to that when I'm going up, or coming down rather. Well, that never happens, but it did today. All right. Alright, let me get around this little limb. Now I'm going to take up some of the slack in this rope. Lean back. Now, I ain't never been where I didn't have something as a safety. That's a key ingredient to this whole thing. Alright, good thing about a lone wolf is it's got this leveler on it. Let's go up one more. Yep, that's it. Alright. Now, let me go ahead and get my lanyard and my tether hooked up. Slide that prusik knot up. Take these off. Now, just going to tell you what I do now, but I'll take one of those tree steps and I'll screw it in, pull up my pack and hang it. I'll screw another one down low, pull up my bow and hang it. And then I'll go ahead and get my easy hanger out, put it right here so I can have my bow above me. Take something and cut that out of the way. Look at that. Isn't this amazing? I got some background cover. I was able to climb in a tree nobody would ever even consider climbing into. And I'm ready. The deer shows up, there's a good chance I'll go undetected. Let me just recap a few things here. One is, the system is exactly that. It's a system. It's a system for getting your stuff into the woods, because the stand itself becomes a pack frame. Now you can do this with other stands, but this is my preference. I like this stand. I've used it for 20 plus years. It's amazing, okay? The other thing that's going on here is I'm using a system to be able to get on any tree I need to. This tree, nobody would have even thought about picking. It's got a limb over here. I had to get past 3 or 4 or 5, several gnarly branches. Now I'm situated in good cover, and I'm in the place I want to be. This system gives me tremendous flexibility. And the last thing I want to mention, but the most important, is safety. I use a climbing harness or a climbing belt. I've got a lanyard on at all times. I'm never without a lanyard. I got something to slow me down if I was to lose control and end up almost falling. Then I got my fall restraint once I get in the tree. Now, let me end up by saying this. If I look hot, it's because I am. It's 95 degrees. But I'm glad I got to do this. This is Monty Perrin with howtohunt.com. Get after 'em.